Top 5 Best 7.2 Receiver. Number 5. Yamaha RX-V6A. Yamaha RX-V6A is a good receiver for creating a modern home theater as it has all the major features at a reasonable cost. The main upgrades I noticed compared to the younger model are the 7.2 configuration and support for the new surround sound formats Dolby Atmos and DTS:X. The power output reaches 100 watts at 8 ohm. This model has 7 HDMI inputs and one output that supports 4K Ultra HD with all the Dolby Vision and HLG add-ons. The device is also equipped with analog and digital inputs, which make it possible to create an AV system with a variety of signal sources. For my test, I used the SACD30N CD player and Sony UBP-X700 Blu-ray player. Yamaha RX-V6A employs a proprietary YPO auto-calibration scheme for convenient, multi-channel sound tuning, taking into account the parameters of the room and acoustics. I also took advantage of the bi-amping option. It amplified the high and low frequency bands of the front left and right speakers with independent amplifiers, thereby enhancing the sound quality of the front channels. Thus, I perfectly heard shooting and explosions while watching the movie, and it seemed that everything happened in my studio. Zone B output allows transferring 2-channel audio to another room. I checked this feature and played audio from the same source in 2 different zones. Pros: different sound modes can add a different feel when listening to music. Comes with a Dolby Surround Up mixer to expand audio to all channels evenly. Multi-point measurement room correction system. Cons: doesn't support HDMI 3D video pass-through. Laggy remote control. Coming in number 4. Marantz NR1711. This compact receiver was initially designed exclusively for casual needs. But over 10 years of constant modifications, it has become a functionally flexible and reasonably priced apparatus that you can use to build a state-of-the-art home theater. When I first saw this receiver, I didn't expect much from it. However, the manufacturer added an HDMI card that supports 8K 60Hz on one of the inputs and 4K 120Hz on the other 5. By the way, it brags about high-speed gaming HDMI specifications and support for eARC. The power output is measured at 50 Watt 8 ohm and 70 Watt 6 ohm. While watching the movie, the soundstage was pleasant and balanced, with smoothened basses and softened high frequencies. If you don't like such a gentle sound reproduction, go to the Odyssey menu and turn off the equalization of the frequency response. Then turn on the graphic equalizer and slightly tweak the sound of the entire system or each channel separately. Music playback is not as effective as in Marantz SR5015. It lacks fine resolution and harmonic purity. I tried to switch on Pure Direct to improve the quality of sounding, and that actually helped. There is also a proprietary MDAX2 enhancer. Pros: has 12 volts trigger-out and pre-out connections to hook up an external amplifier. Slim design allows for placement in tight spots. Perfect for driving smaller speakers and giving them a huge presence in a small space. Has HOS, so you can stream directly from Spotify, Apple Music, etc. Cons: loses a video signal when switching video sources. Troublesome setup. Low-quality plastic case and buttons. Coming in number 3. Sony STR-DH790. People often get carried away by expensive receivers, but more affordable models can also please with interesting features. Sony has excelled at producing electronics to suit every budget, and I decided to take a closer look at a low-cost Sony STR-DH790. The first thing that catches your eye when looking at the box is the inscription 145WX7. That seems impressive, but you need to understand that power is an ambiguous indicator. In general, you can expect 145 watts with 6 ohm speakers, but THD is 0.09%. The model has 7 channels, which are strategically organized to allow you to bi-amp a front pair of stereo speakers or get surround sound from a pair of rear height speakers in Dolby Atmos and DTS:X format. I noticed that the developer called for a kind of compromise. All channels except the front left and right use spring-loaded terminals rather than screw terminals, which require cables up to 1.5 mm in diameter. I don't understand such a move. The model has 4 HDMI inputs, which support signal quality up to 4K at up to 60 Hz, HLG and Dolby Vision, 3D, Deep Color, and BT 2020 color space. There is only one HDMI output. STR-DH790 lacks some elements that users are likely to need. I was astonished that there is no support for the second zone. If that is a serious problem for you, opt for Onkyo TX SR494. While testing this model, I used the Sony auto-calibration function, and it worked perfectly. I watched Spider-Man: Homecoming and fully appreciated the charm of the Atmos object-oriented format, as I could even trace the trajectory of Spider-Man. The music quality was also excellent. I tested the receiver in stereo, direct and pure direct modes along with the standard all-channel stereo. Pros: you can pass audio and video through without the unit being powered on. It is possible to mute or raise volume for each speaker. The multi-tap transformer and multi-phase DC switching is noiseless. Can decode the newest formats and pass through 4K HDR. Cons: configuration isn't on screen, so you have to navigate through a one-line LCD menu. Poor ventilation. No equalization. Coming in number 2. Marantz SR5015. Marantz SR5015 is a 7.2-channel AV receiver in the updated SR line. The developer has worked hard to make this receiver as powerful as possible, and I was inquisitive whether it could cope with all the tasks I'd prepared for it. All channels are equipped with discrete high-current amplifiers, so you get 100 watt with 8 ohm speakers and 140 watt with 6 ohm analogs. Thanks to the low impedance driver, you can pair the receiver with a wide variety of speakers and always get a balanced sound. I like an auto eco mode that automatically handles the power output to speakers by evaluating volume level and on-screen eco meter. That's really cool. Some users reported problems with screening video content in 8K at 60 Hz, but I didn't experience any difficulties. Everything was smooth and crisp. If you are dissatisfied with video quality, you should try dynamic HDR and quick media switching that are available in this version. I've put this receiver to the harsh test and listened to all the compositions listed above several times and from different sources. Just wow! You can hardly confuse Marantz's native sound with other receivers. It is so rich and melodic with an exquisite sonic signature. The quality of sound far surpasses Denon AVR-X2700H and Pioneer Elite models. Pros: you can assign a pair of speakers for the second zone. Supports Dolby Vision. Produces a good stereo image with a deep soundstage. Cons: no XLR inputs or outputs. Doesn't support IMAX. Coming in number 1. Denon AVR-X2700H. Denon has firmly established itself as one of the top manufacturers in the sphere of AV receivers, so I was determined to check whether their products are really so powerful and deserve all the praise. I decided to test their mighty Denon AVR-X2700H. The first thing that caught my eye was the design that has barely changed compared to the AVR-X2600H. However, I appreciated some structural changes. The X2700H supports 8K resolution, but the number of HDMI inputs has dropped from 8 to 6. The number of HDMI outputs has remained unchanged. The channel configuration was kept intact. There are 7 channels, and the power output reaches 95 W with 8 ohm speakers and 125 watt with 6 ohm alternatives, so I managed to organize 7.2 and 5.2.2 channel systems. This Denon product has a very pleasant sounding. No matter how messy the action of a film becomes, it will not miss a single sound. Either it is the sound of a fast-paced vehicle or the noise of crackled glass, every note is perfectly defined. The receiver masterfully transmits sounds from one speaker to another and helps you fully immerse yourself in the scene. I was amazed by how Denon AVR-X2700H controls the growl of the 2 subwoofers in my 7.2 channel system and how clear the sound is during special effects. The manufacturer used Dolby processing technology to provide a virtual effect of raising the height of the soundstage. This is helpful while listening to music. I decided to test it with slower compositions and dynamic audio, and I was impressed by its capabilities. Pros: can be controlled with a Harmony Universal Remote. Comes with Odyssey calibration software. 8K at 60 Hz for future proofing. Switching between audio modes is easy thanks to dedicated apps. Cons: handshaking issue with such apps as Netflix, Hulu, Disney+. Doesn't work with Sonos.